Hello everybody, welcome to this new episode. In today's video I would like to demonstrate how to create an Excel file which contains multiple tabs in Eclipse, plain Java code. So in prior video I demonstrate how to do this in Talend ETL, and it's quite simple, quite straightforward. It takes only approximately 10 minutes to connect a database into the job and generate multiple tabs inside one single Excel file. So in Java it might take a little bit longer, but it's not too much, just probably 10 more minutes. So if you are curious about this implementation in Java ETL, in Talend ETL, you can head on to amphsoft.com under Talend ETL, how to generate large Excel file containing different sheets with Talend ETL. So today I would like to do this, as I said, in Java, and there's a very handy tutorial on Java, how to integrate SQL database in a Java project, specifically how to populate a Java table with data extracted from a SQLite database. That could be very handy to combine with what we're going to do today in generating an Excel file. You could easily combine this knowledge, just extract data from SQL from a database and just put it into different tabs in your Excel file. So let's get started. The thing about so we're going to start as always by creating a project, a Java project. I will call it sheet generator. I will call it, I'm using year E8 for this implementation. Next I will create a package, then I create a class. I will call my entry my class entry, and I will activate the public static void main, so it will provide a default access method to my class and to my program. So the most important thing in order to implement this is we don't need to memorize so many things. We need to know the exact library that we need to work with, and in this case we're going to work with Apache with org.apache.ooxml. You can just think about object-oriented XML. And the other one that we need is the log4j, the core. So I already have these libraries in my file system, but we will gain time if I just import it, but I would like to walk with you through the process of installation, because sometimes depending on the way or in the source you get your libraries from, things might go one or other direction. So this is my thought process. I always go and search for my library by just placing in this, I'd say .jar download. I make sure I download my libraries for the same places which I'm familiar with, how they are packaged and all those things. So yeah, this is the place I usually download libraries from. So here you just download the .ooxml with all its dependencies. I'll call this poi. So once I have this one, I would like also to download the log4j core. So the same thing, log4j.core. Again, I end up in the place that I'm not really familiar with. So this I'm familiar with. Log4j. So once you download your libraries, we need to just go ahead and unpack them. And now we can go back to our project on Eclipse. So the first thing that I do here is just go down to the build path, configure build path. On the libraries tab, I go to add external jars, browse to the place where I have my dependencies and libraries, select everything from the POI, click open, and repeat the same process for the log4j. Apply and close. The next thing that I need to do is just to import from org.apache. I will start by importing everything because like things are not in my memory that fresh when I start doing this, so I need to figure out things along the way. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I create a method to host my implementation, public static void create Excel, and here I have to start by importing the workbook method. I need to initialize a workbook method. That's like so far what I know, and this is an XSSF workbook. WP initialize it or instantiate it by XSSF workbook. And yes, that's the correct one. It comes from org Apache POI, so that is the one that I need to have. So then I make sure that I import, well, I cannot import right now that, oh yeah, actually it is already done by my IDE. So once I have a workbook instantiated, I need to have a spreadsheet, a sheet, or a tab inside the Excel document. So I need to, from the same family of objects, I will select a sheet, which will be created by one method of the workbook. I will just give it a name. Let's call it tab 1 or tab A. Just tab. Come on. So once we have this created, we need to have an object with data. So this is the place where what I was just mentioning earlier come to place, because we might not want to just put in always dummy data into our application. So knowing how to integrate the SQLite database could be very handy at this part. But I recommend you implement it first with something simple, and then later on you can expand your application and connect it to a database or other sources. So what we need to do here is we need an object. Let's call my object book, and let's initialize that object with its columns. So I won't be doing much thinking about the type of data that I would put. I just make sure that I include integers and strings. Sometimes so I will just create, let's say, 4 rows and 3 columns in my Excel. Very good. So now we have our book, our sheet or tab, and the contents that this specific tab will contain. So what we need to do now is create a counter for the rows. So I will call it int count row is 0. Oops. and then we need to start for looping through that book, through those contests. Then we need to do take the object of the rows, give it a name. I will give it a name so I can recognize it later. I will call it Libro, and then I need to take the book, which is the object. So first thing I need to do is create a class, a object row. I will name it row, and from the sheet I will create a row, and inside a row I will count row. Incrementing the counter up front. So the row needs to be imported. Make sure you import it from POI SS user model and not from console sun draw set internal. Very important. Some of those little details we are just going too fast with double click import, and we are not importing the right one, and everything goes wrong. So the next thing that I need to do is create a counter for the columns. And with another for loop, I will go through the fields. So I need to go access the object alone, call this field, and I am still using the Libro. So here I need to do something similar to just create a cell, right? We need to create a cell and use that counter that we just instantiated for the columns. So we call this cell. Cell is the cell we need to take from the row. We say create cell, and then we add a counter for that cell. So we need a call, again upfront incrementing. We need to import whatever we need for the cell, and we grab that from the cell. And the next thing that we need to do here is we need to define the class of each field. So for that, so what I mean with that is we have here strings and integers. So we need to make sure that each field contains its proper type. For that we use if a field instance of string, then we're gonna cast that cell set value. We're gonna cast this value with the set cell value to the string. So the field will be cast to the string, else if the field instance of integer, we're going to cast via the same method to an integer. Okay. And the final thing here is to write our actual document. So let's make sure I am inside, still inside. This is my for loop, ends here, and here is where we write our document. So the way to write a document is with the file output stream. I name it, instantiate it. I like to autocomplete always. I use a variable that I haven't created yet, but that's no problem. I'm going to create it now. Create a string, and this will be the path to where I want my Excel file to be written to. I go browse to my system. I already have some file here. I will just delete it, and I will use this path to generate my file. Go copy into the run place right here. Let's call it my excel.xls. So now I go back to use my workbook and start writing and closing everything. So as we can see here, there's some little error. What it's saying is that I never close it, so that's no problem. I will do that in a moment. I say create, actually I have to write, and it's asking me for an output stream. So my output stream I just did before, I think it's PO or something like that. FO, I name it. So I give my output stream, it continues to complain, and now it's saying I have an unhandled exception. I won't worry about that. In a moment I will close my file. It continues complaining. It says again unhandled exceptions. I don't worry about that. Now I will close my output stream by grabbing the output stream and saying close. And now the final step is to just start satisfying my Eclipse with everything he's asking for. Final found exception. I will give it my unhandled exceptions throws declarations. I will save everything, make sure that there are no errors here, make sure that I get rid of things that I don't need, such as remove unused imports. I remove unused imports, and I'm left with only 4 imports from the org.apache POI and 2 standard imports. So that's pretty much. Now I just have to call my function, my method of create Excel, add some throws here, save, double check there's no errors, and my running configuration needs to be in place. I click on my Java application here. This is okay. Entry is my entry, and then I run. I might not see logs things here on the screen because I didn't spend time writing logs and stuff. It's a good practice to do. Of course, for a tutorial on YouTube, I rather get the project till the end. So basically that's it. Now I'm going to check what happened. This is the location, and this is my Excel file, that one that I just created. And as we can see, we have the exact same ravage here, and we have the tab. So the thing is that if you want another tab, you need to create another object, and you need to create another for loop. I mean, you need to replicate this part only, and this part, in fact this part. So for that, it's good to object oriented it and probably outsource it to another function. And you can also get this data from, as I said before, from your database, so you can generate multiple tabs sheets. I think I will wrap it up right by this, and I would like to probably do the SQLite integration in a upcoming video. Let me know what you think, if it's necessary. And yeah, that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching, and cheers.